So today we're gonna make some bread. There's, as I kind of spoke about in a little bit ago, we're making two today. One's gonna be in a 6x9 loaf pan. The other one's gonna be in a Dutch oven. These cook at different rates, so as we'll see, I'm gonna go ahead and start with the Dutch oven. And what that will be is the Dutch oven will be cooking at, we'll be heating it up at 500 degrees. So I'm going to preheat the oven 500 degrees, and I'm going to put the Dutch oven in there to heat up with it. And then I'm going to let it sit in there for a while. I would say anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour of just heating up the Dutch oven. That is because we're going to trap the heat in there, and it's going to help us bake the bread. And then the move is you cook it when it's all heated up and you put the bread in there, and I'll show you how to do that here in a little bit. Is you, with the lid on and the bread in there, you bake it for 18 minutes. Then you remove the lid and you drop the temperature down to 450 and you cook it for another 25 to 28 minutes. And that'll be the first round. And then I'll do the 6x9 in another clip. So oven rack, it's pretty straightforward. Just somewhere put the racks where you can put the Dutch oven in, and kind of take the lid off and kind of look at it so there's room for because it is quite big. It's big. So, all right. See you in the next clip. All right, it's time to make our first sample of the day. Today we'll be using the Dutch oven. There are a couple things to get started with first. Just a recap. The Dutch oven is in the oven. It's been in the oven at 500 degrees, and it's been in there for about 57 minutes. So it is piping hot. And that's something to remember because I have burned my hand on this process before, so I do recommend being super, super careful. As you will see later in the video, I will be using these oven glove things. I just do it anytime I touch it just to be sure, because burns hurt. Burns really, really hurt. This is math and science. So, as a recap, the Dutch oven cooking will be right around 18 minutes at 500 degrees, and then 25 to 28 minutes at 450 with lid off and lid on. So before I get into that, there are a couple things that we kind of want to touch upon. Is that it's a good idea to get yourself kind of prepped before all that happens. For this process, we're going to need a piece of parchment paper, a razor blade, and some kind of brush mechanism, and I'll explain that when the time comes. But more importantly, we also need our first sample of the day, which is the sourdough that has been in the Banneton, the proofing basket. So they also say that you can tell that your bread's ready to go by poking it, and if it stays in, that's ready to go. I don't know how much I put into that because this joker's been in the refrigerator for a certain amount of time, and that dough is naturally going to stay a little bit solid. I don't really put much faith into that. I just know it's been in there for a while, at least 12 hours, and it's plenty. We've done up to 2 days. If there is ever a situation where you guys kind of want to just tinker with it and want to keep it in there for more days than that, you can always lower the amount of starter. So we did 20% in our situation, and if you bump it down a little bit, that means it'll be a slower rise, slower fermentation, I guess. I guess I can use that phrase. But I haven't played with that a whole lot. I usually stick anywhere from 18 to 25% starter. So, but this is our starting point. And I'm going to kind of switch over to a this view, hopefully you can see. So the trick with this is, you can see, is you just flip it over and you bring it up. Now, all this extra flour, as you can see, is from whenever I dusted the Banneton and the Banneton cover to make sure that there was no sticking, because this is a high hydration dough and it can potentially cause havoc if you're not paying attention. So this is the reason I have the pastry brush. I try to get as much off or out of the equation as possible. Just because that will bake on there pretty solid, and also it will get in the Dutch oven and kind of bake itself into it, and it requires cleaning. It's kind of a pain in the butt. So here's our starting point. Now is the part where I go ahead and score it, and the scoring is semi-important because it allows the tension within to spread out without breaking the crust. So this kind of helps build the crust, and it takes some of that pressure off of it. If not, you're going to pop up and you're going to split the sides. But it's not a big deal because it's still all bread and it's going to be delicious. But it's a good idea to either kind of go down the side or down the middle. Lately, I've been doing down the middle because it's kind of fun. Next move, bring the Dutch oven out. Remembering that it is super hot. Then we're just going to take the bread, dump it in there, and cover, and then back in. And this will be at 500 degrees for 18 minutes. We're at the 18-minute mark. I'm going to go ahead and suit up. And that's what we get. So now we're going to drop it down to 450, and then we want to put this somewhere where it's not going to hurt anyone if they accidentally touch it, i.e. myself or other human beings or cats. Okay, timer's off. That would be the 25 minutes at 450 degrees. So let's pull it. Oh yeah. Now I can tell that's definitely done. It's a smaller loaf than I normally do, so it's a little bit more brown. The surefire way to test, I mean, they always say tap on the bottom, see if it sounds hollow, but I think that's a crap theory. So a lot of times we'll just take an internal temperature reading, and anything above 205 is done. So this joker is more than done. Usually take a second to wipe off any of the rice flour from the bottom, and that's our loaf. That will be dinner tonight. Next step is to let it cool. Recommended at least 2 hours, and that is important because there is still stuff going on after after it comes out. I mean, so it is sitting there. There's still moisture in there. It's trapped by the thicker crust. And if you cut it too early, it's gonna get a little bit soggy, because all that that moisture is gonna kind of have a quick escape area. So it's gonna be real hard, but just resist on temp or cutting it at least 2 hours, if not completely cold. And that's kind of that. So lesson 1 for the bowl version, the bread. I keep saying bread bowl, but that just doesn't sound right. So I'm just gonna say that version of the bread is done. Next version coming up soon. Bye.